What is the perfect hook workout for arm wrestling? In this video, I will share with you every single area you will need to train as a hooker, and I'll also show you some great exercises for those areas that you can add to your training. First, let me shortly clarify one important thing. There are many different hook variations in the technique itself, but in this video, I will generalize and I will define hook as the ability to come forward. With that being clarified, let's get straight into the exercises, and the first area we will look at is the hand. The hand is extremely important for almost every arm wrestling style, but as a hooker, it is your biggest weapon because the hand is the link of the chain that gets you into the hook. Remember this, when we talk about the hand, we always refer to two different elements, the wrist and the fingers. As a hooker, your fingers only play a role if you pull against a top roller, because the top roller will attack your wrist and fingers. If you pull against another hooker, the fingers are not that important anymore, because you are both going forward. For the finger containment, you can do the thick barbell lift. If it feels comfortable, you can even add fat grips to make the exercise even harder. It is important to focus on your fingers and to make sure they don't get open up when you do this exercise, because we want to train the finger containment for arm wrestling and not our grip strength. For the wrist, I'll give you two different exercises. First exercise will prepare you to pull against another hooker. Keep this in mind, when you pull against another hooker, almost all the pressure comes from the side, which means automatically you have to train your wrist while the pressure comes from the side. A great exercise that provides this pressure is wrist curls from the side. You can even do this exercise if you don't have any special equipment at all. And the second exercise, which prepares you against top rollers, is wrist curls at the pulley. Because the weight comes from the front, this exercise simulates exactly the way a top roller is going to attack your wrist and fingers. Let's move on to the second most important strength as a hooker, and that is your side pressure. Once you are in a hook, you need very strong side pressure to be able to finish the matches. When you get to the elite level, all the hookers are relatively equal in strength when it comes to side pressure. That is exactly the reason why you always see two hookers having those crazy 2-minute matches. And because of that, in my eyes, the traditional hook is not the most effective technique. But this is a topic for another video. There are three main elements you will have to include to your training to have a fully developed side pressure. I will briefly explain each element and give you a great exercise for each one. The first element is internal rotation, which does two main things. First, it helps you to win the center of the table, and secondly, it will also improve your ability to get into the hook. There is one classic exercise you can do for this one, and that is internal rotation at the pulley. For every one of you who is watching, if this exercise feels uncomfortable for you, you are probably not a natural hooker. I'm telling you this because I'm in the same boat. The second side pressure element is the ability to drag your elbow across the pad. This one helps you again to win the center of the table. A great exercise for it is the famous pronated side pressure, because not only that you will train your side pressure, but you also add some pronation to it, which makes the exercise even more accurate for arm wrestling. And the third element is down pressure, which trains your ability to finish the matches, because you don't want to end up in those 2-minute wars. Here you can do another classic exercise, and that is down pressure at the pulley. I highly recommend you to do this one with any kind of rolling handle and not with a wrist wrench. We do this because we want to make the down pressure the limiting factor and not the wrist. By the way, all the equipment you see in my videos is from Golden Grip, and with my code Alex, you will get 10% off on any purchase you make at goldengrip.com. The link is down below. I also run a giveaway right now, so stick around until the end of the video to find out more. The next strength is the back pressure. When it comes to back pressure, I like to differentiate between two different areas: the elbow flexors and the back. The best back pressure exercise there is as a hook puller is pull-ups. But now comes the catch, because you do the pull-ups as a hooker, you will have to take a supinated grip. Of course, you can also do neutral pull-ups and they will make you stronger. But you want to simulate as accurately as possible what you do on the table. And for that, the supinated pull-ups are the right choice. Listen, if you have never done this exercise before, I highly recommend you start doing it, because this is one of the best arm wrestling exercises there is. Pro tip here, if you want to target your wrist and fingers even more when you do your pull-ups, just add some fat grips to the bar. This will make a huge difference. Now let me give you two separate exercises for the elbow flexors, where the elbow flexors are completely isolated. First exercise is for the bicep, and this recently became one of my favorite bicep exercises, and that is bicep curls on the table. The challenge with bicep training is finding exercises that transfer to the arm wrestling table as accurately as possible. And this is exactly one of those exercises. For the brachioradialis, which is your second elbow flexor, you can do hammer curls at the power rack. Of course, if you have a squat bench in your gym, you can use it, but many of you don't have a squat bench. So here is how you can set up the power rack in your gym to perform this exercise. Adjust it as high as you need it so that when you start doing the reps, you are not in any weird position. After that, perform your regular hammer curls. I know some of you might think, I don't need to train the brachioradialis. I'm a hooker, so it is enough if I only train the bicep. But believe me, if you don't do that, sooner or later, you will have huge imbalances in your elbow flexors. And that is something you want to avoid. The last area is the cherry on top, and that is pronation. Remember what I told you earlier in the video? At a certain level, all the hookers have an equally strong side pressure, and none of them is able to finish the match. To avoid that, you will need a strong pronation. By having a strong pronation, you avoid getting in those long matches, which tire you out and send you home from the tournament. And this is by far the biggest mistake most hookers make. They don't focus enough on strengthening the pronator. You also have to understand, as a hooker, you will end up pretty low on the table because you are not fighting for the height. That means you'll also have to apply your pronation from the lowest point possible. That point is usually the top of your forearm. A great exercise that achieves exactly this is pronation combined with back pressure over the forearm. Grab the belt as shown in the video and make sure you pronate your hand through while you do the regular hammer curl. The biggest disadvantage of this exercise that many of you have told me in the comment section is that the pressure on the forearm bone is very high with training with big weights. That's completely normal, so you should get used to it. Now, because you have made it that far in the video, let me give you a bonus method on how to strengthen the pronation. This is a method you can use when you pull on the table, and it is very simple. Get into the hook, and from there, try to pronate as much as possible and to open up the wrist of your opponent. I recommend you to start practicing this with guys that are much weaker than you. And with time, you can practice against stronger and stronger opponents. This is probably one of the best methods you can use to strengthen the ability to pronate. John Burzan used to do this often, where he was in a hook and he was able to pronate through the opponent and open up his wrist. This takes a lot of time to master, and most probably you won't do it as effective as John, but you can never know if you never start. So make sure you add this method to your training. These are some of the best exercises you can do as a hooker. If you have any questions, write it down in the comment section below. As I already mentioned, I will give away two different handles, the wrist wrench and the opti wrench. All you have to do is to go down to the video description and enter the giveaway with the link presented. With that being said, keep your eyes on this channel. Great stuff is coming.